to my channel. So in last video we discussed about ORM queries, and this video will be going to be about query sets, and we'll get a better understanding of query sets, so that in interviews also you will be able to answer all the questions related to it. But you will be asked, definitely you will be asked about query sets if you are giving interview of backend engineer as from Pythonic way. So let's start. First of all, we need to know what is a query set. So as I have written here in front of you, a query set is a collection of database queries built using Django ORM. So query set is nothing but collection of queries like that, the queries that we are going to hit on database, and those queries that we have written in the form of ORM. And you can remember, if you can remember, this is a query, this is a ORM that we write, ORM API, and this represents a query set, because this book.objects.all represents a query set. So this query set is actually a collection of SQL queries inside. Like internally they are actually SQL queries but written in this format, and this could be a collection of queries or a combination of queries. It could be anything, but they are queries only internally. So a query set is a collection of database query built using Django ORM. Now you can think of it as a lazy list of objects, because these are not real, like these are not data actually right now. These are not if you write book.objects.all, it will not hit the database immediately. This is just a query which runs only when data is actually needed. So it is built in a way that makes it optimal for our backend. It does not hit immediately. It runs only on particular events. I will explain you more about it when we will go to the documentation. So this is just a lazy list of objects, you can think of it, that represents the row from a database table without writing raw SQL. So we are not going to write raw SQL in our Django. We just have to write these query sets in the form of ORM. Now you can take an example from here. Like if we want to get from database, if we want to get a books whose price are greater than 500, then in SQL we write these queries, query in this format. But in Django we can write this simply like that, in this way: book.objects.filter price greater than 500. So both these queries are actually same. Internally they are same. This also will be broken down into this SQL query only, but for developer, like as a developer, it will be easy for us to write in this format, because this is a Pythonic way. We have written the class name, the manager, and then the function, the method that we want to execute on that using that manager. So in previous video I explained you what is this objects. In an interview someone asked me like, what is this? At that time I was not able to answer it, but that's why I am explaining to you. This book.objects.filter, in this, book is a model class, object is a manager which manages these methods over these classes, and filter is the method that is actually we are going to execute. So you can see from here how query sets are similar to SQL queries, and you have to be good in writing query sets. That's why I explained in my previous video. You should know ORM, and if you have any doubt in that, you can keep commenting. I will make another video related to, like a practical video related to that. I will take you to the documentation. I will explain you when these query sets are actually evaluated. As I told you, this doesn't hit the database immediately, and it only runs when the data is actually needed. So let's go to the documentation and let's see what they have written about it. So the queries, this documentation will describe the details of query set API, and you can find here when these query sets are evaluated, like when they are actually going to hit the database. So internally a query set can be constructed, filtered, sliced, and generally passed around without actually hitting the database. Means you can write a query set, construct and filter objects before hitting like database. You can write everything in a single query set without hitting the database, without actually hitting the database, which is literally very efficient for us. Now no database activity actually occurs until you do something to evaluate the query set. Now there are several ways you can evaluate a query set, and the first way is iteration. Like if you are iterating inside this, if you are running a loop on this query set, this is going to hit the database once. So it will hit the database once, and then it will print all the objects. So query set is iterable, and it executes its database query the first time you iterate over it. So when the first time you will iterate over it, it will execute it, and then it will keep printing the entries inside it. So now you can understand more about it. So don't want they have also written a note here, don't use this if you all want to do is determine if at least one result exists. So it is saying that if you want to just check if any of the entry exists, so you can use the exist method here, which will be efficient instead of running a for loop overall. Now you can do also asynchronous iteration. You can learn more about it if you are interested in async operations using that Django. Now there are other several ways with which you can like evaluate these query sets. Slicing is one of the way, as explained in limiting query set. You can go to this like in the documentation which is linked here. You can go and understand more about it. There are caching and pickling techniques which will actually hit the database when you will cache or when you will pickle the query sets. And there is a represent method also. So when you will in a query set, when you will call this represent method, it will evaluate that query set immediately. So it will hit the database immediately if you will run represent method on it. And if you run length method on it, it will also evaluate this query set. So this as you might expect returns the length of the result list. So it will print the length of all the objects in that query set that are coming, and it will hit the database immediately to get that length. So now you can also run this list method. For example, if you put this query set inside a list method, and if you try to convert it into a list, it will hit the database immediately. So these are some methods which will hit the which will be used to evaluate that those query sets immediately. So now you have a good understanding of evaluation of query sets, and there are several things that I actually explained you is in starting of this video, which are very important from interview perspective. Now I think after this all details, you can like answer any question in the interview. In interview, they are going to ask you what are query sets, when they are actually executed, and they might ask like these points, like when they are evaluated. You can explain 3 or 4 methods, like 3 or 4 events when they can be evaluated immediately. And one more thing that I want to explain you is you should explore this select related and prefetch related also, because these are most important. And I will explain you these in any of our next projects, because they are very important and very useful when it comes to foreign keys and many relations. So I'll explain that, but before that I want you to explore it once on your own. And if you don't understand, we are going to do it in our next project that we have kept what we have learned till now. So query sets, these are few points which we have to remember about query sets. Query sets are lazy, means they are not means they will not hit database immediately. There are several events on which they are evaluated, which I already explained you, and you can check documentation for it. And now the second point is internally they are raw SQL queries. You have to remember, it is very important point. They are nothing different. They are simple SQL queries which will hit database at some point. They can be chained means it they can be like if we have a query set which will filter something, then you can again apply a filter on it in a chain like in a chained method. And the fourth point is query sets are cached after evaluation. It is also important in an interview. If you are asked are query sets cached, so you have to answer yes, query sets are cached after evaluation. When a query set is evaluated, its value is cached, it won't hit the database again. So in the end, you just have to think of it like query sets are lazy, chainable, optimizable SQL builder. Means in the end, you are going to build SQL queries. So these are all things that you have to keep in mind about query sets. I hope you like this video, and let's meet in the next video. Bye bye.